Story 1. Whispers from the Penthouse Suite. My name is Ethan, and I'm here to tell you a chilling story that happened to my colleague Sophie and me. It all started when we were attending a convention in a top hotel in the city. The organizers had booked 2 separate rooms for us, and as soon as we arrived, we were in awe of the luxurious decor and ambiance of the place. The hotel was located in the heart of the city and had a magnificent view of the skyline. Sophie and I had been working together for a few years, and we were excited to attend the convention together. As soon as we got settled in our rooms, we decided to explore the hotel. We made our way to the lobby, where we were greeted by the hotel's friendly staff. One of the staff members, a young woman named Maya, struck up a conversation with us and offered to show us the penthouse suite, which was currently empty because of renovation work. We eagerly accepted her offer, and she led us through a series of corridors and elevators until we reached the top floor. The penthouse suite was even more lavish than we had imagined, with breathtaking views of the city and every amenity one could think of. As we explored the suite, we noticed that some of the doors seemed to lead to hidden rooms or secret passageways. Maya noticed our curiosity and shared with us that there had been a few freaky incidents in the past, and the penthouse suite had a dark history. She told us that a famous singer had died in the suite a few years ago, and some people believed that her ghost still haunted the place. We were skeptical, but as the night wore on, strange things began to happen. We heard footsteps in the hallways, doors slamming shut on their own, and unexplained noises coming from the walls. Sophie and I were both scared out of our wits and decided to find Maya to see if she could help us make sense of what was happening. We searched the hotel, but Maya was nowhere to be found. As we made our way back to the penthouse suite, we noticed that the hallways seemed different than before. They seemed darker, and the doors seemed to lead to different rooms than they had earlier. We were confused and disoriented, and our fear began to grow. Finally, we made it back to the penthouse suite and were relieved to find Maya waiting for us. She seemed tense and on edge, and as soon as we told her about the strange occurrences we had experienced, she grew pale and looked away. After a moment of silence, she reluctantly shared with us that the hotel had kept the true history of the penthouse suite hidden from the public. The singer who had died there had not died of natural causes, but rather, she had been murdered in the suite by an unknown assailant. The hotel had covered up the murder to avoid negative publicity, but rumors had persisted that the singer's ghost still roamed the halls. As soon as Maya finished speaking, the lights in the room flickered, and we heard a loud crash from one of the hidden rooms. We all jumped and ran to investigate, and what we found there will haunt me forever. In the hidden room, we found the singer's belongings and a diary, in which she had written about a stalker who had been following her for months before her untimely death. We were terrified, and as we tried to leave the penthouse suite, we found that the doors were locked from the outside. We were trapped, and the ghostly presence in the room seemed to be growing stronger by the minute. Sophie and I huddled together, not knowing what to do, when we heard a voice calling out to us. It was Maya's voice, but it was coming from one of the hidden rooms. We cautiously made our way there, and what we saw will stay with me forever. Maya was lying on the ground, unconscious and bleeding from a head wound, and standing over her was a figure dressed in black, with a mask covering their face. The figure turned towards us, and I will never forget the chilling expression on their face. We tried to run, but the figure was too fast, and soon we found ourselves trapped in a small room with no escape. The figure removed their mask, and what we saw will haunt us forever. It was the hotel manager who had been using the penthouse suite to carry out his dark and twisted fantasies. We were rescued by the police, but the experience left us shaken and scarred. The hotel was shut down, and the penthouse suite was sealed off for good. But the memory of that night still haunts us, and we can never forget the terror we felt as we were trapped in that room with the ghost of a murdered singer and a deranged hotel manager.
Story 2. Chilling Nights at the Hotel. My name is Gina, and I am the Vice President of Sales in a top technology firm. My job requires me to travel a lot, and I am always on the go. Last month, I was scheduled to attend an important meeting in a city that I had never been to before. I booked myself into a hotel named the Grand Empire, which had good ratings on the internet and seemed like a safe and comfortable choice. The hotel was located in the heart of the city and had a luxurious ambiance. The lobby was filled with chandeliers and expensive artwork, and the staff was courteous and welcoming. The check-in process was smooth, and I was soon on my way to my room on the 8th floor. As soon as I entered my room, I was struck by its elegance. The room was spacious, with a king-size bed in the center, a comfortable couch on the side, and a big-screen TV mounted on the wall. The walls were decorated with expensive paintings, and the curtains were drawn, covering the large window overlooking the city. I settled down quickly and ordered room service for dinner. As I was waiting for my meal, I heard a faint noise coming from the corner of the room. At first, I ignored it, thinking it must be the sound of the air conditioning. But then, the noise grew louder, and it sounded like someone was scratching the wall. I got up from my seat and walked towards the wall, trying to figure out where the noise was coming from. It was then that I noticed a small crack in the plaster, just above the couch. The scratching noise was coming from inside the wall. I felt a chill run down my spine as I tried to imagine what could be making the noise. I immediately called the hotel authorities and informed them of the situation. They promised to send someone to check it out and assured me that everything would be taken care of. The scratching noise continued for a while longer, but eventually it stopped, and I was able to sleep soundly through the night. The next morning, I went to attend my meeting and returned to the hotel late in the evening. As I entered my room, I noticed that the crack in the wall had been patched up. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that the problem had been taken care of. However, as soon as I sat down on the couch, I heard the scratching noise again. This time it was louder than before, and it seemed to be coming from all around me. I got up and looked around the room, but there was no sign of anything that could be making the noise. I immediately called the hotel authorities again and informed them of the situation. However, this time they seemed less concerned and assured me that it was probably just the sound of the pipes or the building settling. I tried to ignore the noise and went to bed early, hoping to get a good night's sleep. However, the scratching noise continued throughout the night, keeping me awake and on edge. I felt like something was watching me, and I could not shake off the feeling of dread. The next morning, I complained to the hotel manager about the noise and asked to be moved to another room. However, the hotel was fully booked, and they were unable to accommodate my request. They apologized for the inconvenience and assured me that they would take care of the problem. That night, I decided to keep the TV on to drown out the noise. However, as soon as I turned off the lights and settled into bed, I heard a whispering sound coming from the closet. I sat up, trying to make out what the voice was saying, but it was too faint to decipher. I reached for the lamp on the bedside table, but it would not turn on. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I realized that the room was completely dark. I tried to turn on the TV, but it wouldn't respond either. It was as if all the electrical appliances in the room had been shut down. The whispering sound grew louder, and I could now hear words being spoken. It was a woman's voice, and she seemed to be reciting some kind of chant. The words were incomprehensible, but they sent a chill down my spine. I got out of bed and walked towards the closet, trying to find the source of the sound. As I opened the closet door, I felt a cold breeze on my face, and I heard the whispering sound grow louder. I stepped back, and the closet door slammed shut on its own. I felt a surge of fear coursing through my body as I realized that something was seriously wrong. I tried to call the hotel authorities, but my phone was dead and there was no dial tone on the room phone. I sat on the bed trying to calm myself down and think of a way out of the situation. As I looked around the room, I noticed that the paintings on the walls had changed. They were now dark and ominous, depicting scenes of death and destruction. Suddenly, the door to the room burst open, and a figure stepped in. It was a woman dressed in a white gown, and her hair was disheveled. She walked towards me, her eyes fixed on mine, and I could see a look of malice in her gaze. I felt paralyzed with fear as she reached out and touched my face. Her hands were cold as ice, and I could feel my body starting to go numb. She leaned in closer, and I could feel her breath on my face. It smelled of decay and death. Suddenly, the lights came back on, and the woman disappeared. I looked around the room, trying to make sense of what had just happened. The paintings on the walls had returned to their original state, and the scratching noise had stopped. I packed my bags and checked out of the hotel, determined never to return. As I walked out of the lobby, I noticed a small plaque on the wall commemorating the opening of the hotel. It read, "The Grand Empire Hotel, established 1920. It was then that I realized that the woman I had seen in my room was probably a ghost, and that the hotel had a dark history. I shuddered at the thought of what could have happened if I had stayed there for another night. As I walked away from the hotel, I could still feel the woman's cold touch on my face, and I knew that the memory of my stay at the Grand Empire Hotel would haunt me for a long time to come.
Story 3. A night at the Roosevelt Hotel. My family and I had just arrived at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel in Los Angeles, California. We were excited to explore the city and experience the glamour and glitz that Hollywood is known for. However, we were unaware of the spooky history that surrounded the hotel, and our stay there would turn out to be more chilling than we had anticipated. The Hollywood Roosevelt is a grand hotel located in the heart of Hollywood, with a history that dates back to the 1920s. It has hosted countless celebrities and high-profile events over the years, but it is also believed to be haunted by the ghost of the legendary Hollywood actress Marilyn Monroe, who stayed at the hotel during the early days of her career. Upon checking in, we were greeted by the friendly hotel staff, including the bellboy named Michael. He helped us with our luggage and showed us to our room on the 7th floor. The room was spacious and elegant, with a large king-size bed and a view of the Hollywood Hills. We were thrilled with our accommodations and excited to start our Hollywood adventure. That night, we decided to have dinner at the hotel's restaurant. The ambiance was perfect, with dim lighting and a cozy atmosphere. As we enjoyed our meal, we heard whispers of the hotel's haunted history from the other diners. Some even claimed to have seen Marilyn Monroe's ghost in the hallways or elevators. We laughed it off as we didn't believe in such things. After dinner, we returned to our room and settled in for the night. However, I soon began to feel uneasy. The room felt colder than usual, and I could hear strange creaking noises coming from the walls. My wife and daughter were fast asleep, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that we were not alone in the room. I got up and walked around the room, checking the doors and windows to make sure they were locked. As I was about to climb back into bed, I saw a figure standing in the corner of the room. It was a woman with long blonde hair and a white dress. I couldn't believe my eyes as I realized it was Marilyn Monroe's ghost. I was frozen with fear, unable to move or speak. The ghostly figure started moving closer to me, and I could hear her whisper my name. I felt a cold breath on my neck, and suddenly the lights went out. I screamed for my wife and daughter, but there was no response. I could hear footsteps and laughter, but it was not from my family. As I looked into the eyes of the ghostly figure in our hotel room, I felt a chill run down my spine. Her hair was platinum blonde, cascading down her back in loose waves. She wore a white dress that fluttered in the breeze as if she were standing outside on a windy day. But we were on the 7th floor of a building, and the windows were closed. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The room had turned into a nightmare, and I knew we had to leave. I managed to find my phone and used the flashlight to guide us out of the room. We ran down the hallway, and I could feel the ghostly presence following us. We finally reached the elevator, and as the doors closed, I saw the ghostly figure disappear into thin air. We were safe, but the fear lingered on. The next day, we decided to explore the hotel's history and learn more about the haunted rumors that surrounded it. We visited the hotel's museum, where we saw pictures of Marilyn Monroe and other Hollywood icons who had stayed at the hotel. We also learned that the hotel's history included many other mysterious deaths and unexplained occurrences, adding to the hotel's reputation as one of the most haunted places in Hollywood. As we continued our tour, we met a historian named Dr. Elizabeth, who shared some of the hotel's most chilling stories. She told us about a couple who stayed in the same room we had and claimed to have seen Marilyn Monroe's ghost standing at the foot of their bed. They had even captured a picture of the ghostly figure, which they shared with the hotel staff. Dr. Elizabeth also shared the story of a young actress who had taken her own life in the hotel room next to ours. Her death had been shrouded in mystery, and some people believed that her ghost still haunted the hotel. We shuddered at the thought of what we had experienced the night before and decided to cut our visit short and check out of the hotel. As we were getting ready to leave, we ran into Michael, the bellboy who had helped us with our luggage the day before. He looked pale and agitated and told us a story that sent shivers down our spines. Michael said that Marilyn Monroe's ghost was known to haunt the hotel's pool area, where she had been seen wearing a white bathing suit, just like the one she wore in the movie Some Like It Hot. Last night he had seen her with his own eyes, and the image had haunted him ever since. He also shared stories of guests who had been awakened in the middle of the night by the sound of a woman singing. When they looked outside their windows, they saw Marilyn Monroe's ghost standing by the pool, singing a haunting melody. We thanked Michael for his time and rushed out of the hotel, eager to leave the haunted place behind us. However, as we were walking down the street, I realized that something was wrong. My daughter was missing. I panicked and ran back into the hotel searching for her. My wife and I searched the lobby, the restaurant, and the pool area, but she was nowhere to be found. We asked the hotel staff for help, and they searched the entire building, but there was no sign of her. Just as we were about to call the police, we heard a small voice calling out to us. We followed the voice and found our daughter sitting by the pool, looking at the water. She looked up at us and said, "Mom, Dad, I met Marilyn Monroe. She's so beautiful and kind." We were stunned. We had thought our daughter was missing, but she had been sitting by the pool talking to a ghost. We didn't know what to make of it, but we knew that our experience at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel was far from over. As we left the hotel and headed back home, we couldn't shake off the feeling that we had been part of something truly supernatural. We had encountered the ghost of Marilyn Monroe, and it had left an indelible mark on our lives.